when a friendly chat turns into a nightmare, the stranger in the cafe. If you think this story won't keep you up tonight, you haven't heard what happened after that message. Subscribe, like, and don't say I didn't warn you. It began on an ordinary Thursday evening in downtown Portland, the kind of night when everything feels routine, predictable. The air was crisp, the rain steady, and the city glowed in its usual reflection of blue-gray neon lights bouncing off wet pavement. But by midnight, one woman's quiet life would unravel into something darker than anyone could imagine. Her name was Emily Parker, a 27-year-old marketing assistant known for her kindness, dry humor, and love for late-night coffee runs. She'd always been cautious, never one for risks, never one for strangers. But that night, she broke her own rule. Around 8:47 p.m., Emily sat alone in a small cafe called The Silver Cup, working on her laptop. A man at the next table, mid-30s, neat haircut, black coat, struck up a friendly conversation about her favorite playlist. His name was Ryan Hale, or at least, that's what he said. To anyone watching, it looked harmless. Two strangers chatting, laughing softly under dim cafe lights. But there was something in his tone. A confidence that felt rehearsed. A familiarity that didn't belong. Emily's smile faded a little when he mentioned where she lived. Her apartment complex. Something she'd never told him. By 9:30 p.m., the cafe closed. The rain outside had turned into a steady drizzle, misting the glass and warping the neon reflections. Ryan offered her a ride home. She hesitated, but before she could answer, another customer approached her table. A woman in a gray hoodie, carrying a box of pastries. "You dropped this," the woman said. Inside the box was Emily's phone. She didn't even realize it had fallen. When she looked back up, Ryan was gone. That should have been the end of it. But when Emily opened her phone later that night, she found a new message request from an unknown account. It read, "You looked beautiful under the silver lights tonight." Her stomach sank. She didn't reply. She blocked the number, turned off the screen, and tried to convince herself it was a coincidence. Maybe someone from the cafe. Maybe a harmless admirer. But deep down, something felt wrong. The next morning, her best friend Chloe called to check in. Emily told her everything, laughing nervously as if saying it out loud would make it sound less strange. Chloe insisted she file a report, but Emily brushed it off. "It's just a weird message," she said. "People are weird." That evening, while leaving work, Emily noticed a white sedan parked across the street. It wasn't familiar, but in a big city, nothing ever was. Still, she felt watched. She quickened her pace, fumbled for her keys, and got into her car. The next few days passed quietly. No messages, no strange faces, no reason to worry, until Sunday morning, when her neighbor, Mr. Dalton, mentioned something casually while trimming his hedges. "Hey, Emily," he said. "Your boyfriend sure waits a long time in that car of his." Emily froze. "What boyfriend?" "The one who's been sitting out front every night this week," he replied, shrugging. "Didn't want to bother you. Figured he was just waiting for you to come home." That's when Emily's world stopped. She ran inside, closed the blinds, and called Chloe, her voice shaking. "I think someone's watching me." But before Chloe could respond, Emily glanced out the window and saw the reflection of headlights pulling away from the curb. The same white sedan, the same one from work. That night, the messages started again. "You shouldn't have ignored me. I just want to talk. You looked scared tonight." Emily didn't sleep. She called the police the next morning. They took the report, promised to patrol the area, but they couldn't do much without a clear threat or evidence. By Tuesday, she noticed something new. A small folded note slipped under her apartment door. Inside, in neat handwriting, were 3 words: "We're not done." And when she checked her security camera footage that night, She saw the man from the cafe standing just outside the frame, motionless, staring up at her door for 37 minutes straight. And what the camera caught next would make detectives realize this wasn't a simple stalking case at all. The man with no past. The next morning, the air in Portland felt heavier. Rain clouds pressing low, shadows stretching across quiet streets. Emily hadn't slept. Every creak in her apartment sounded like footsteps, every flicker of light like movement. When the doorbell finally rang, she jumped so hard she spilled her coffee. Detective Marcus Lane stood at her door, tall, quiet, his trench coat soaked from the drizzle. He'd handled hundreds of cases, missing persons, break-ins, cyber harassment. But something about Emily's voice over the phone last night made him drive over himself. Her hands trembled as she replayed the security footage. The man outside her door didn't move. He didn't knock. He just stood there. And worse, the timestamp showed 2:43 a.m., nearly an hour before she even woke up. Detective Lane leaned closer to the screen. "Same jacket, same posture," he murmured. "You said he called himself Ryan Hale." Emily nodded. "From the cafe. He seemed normal." That name, Ryan Hale, would unravel everything. Lane ran it through the system that morning. Nothing. No driver's license. No known address. No record in Portland or anywhere nearby. The name didn't exist. Meanwhile, Emily tried to continue life as usual. She went to work, but she couldn't focus. The printer jammed. Her coworkers whispered, and every vibration of her phone made her heart lurch. That afternoon, she parked outside her building and noticed something taped to her windshield. A photograph of herself, sitting in the cafe from that first night. Across the bottom, written in black ink, "You smiled at me first." She drove straight to the precinct. Lane took the photo without a word and handed it to forensics. "He's escalating," he muttered. While the team began tracing local security footage, a young tech analyst named Rena Park spotted something odd. She zoomed into one of the cafe's exterior cameras from that night. Ryan's reflection appeared in the window, but in the corner, barely visible, was another camera flash. Someone else had been photographing the same scene from outside. Whoever this man was, he hadn't been working alone. Lane ordered a sweep of known aliases connected to stalking cases in Oregon. A partial facial match came back. A man named Ethan Reese, linked to a harassment report 2 years prior in Seattle. But that case was dismissed after the victim stopped cooperating and moved states. Emily's stomach twisted when she saw the file photo. "That's him," she whispered. The realization hit Lane like a wave. Ethan Reese had no fixed address. No job record, just a pattern, short-term relationships, social media manipulation, fake profiles, and sudden disappearances. He reinvented himself every few months, always choosing women who were kind, polite, trusting. That night, detectives placed a marked patrol outside Emily's apartment. Lane stayed late at the precinct, reviewing files, his desk littered with half-empty coffee cups and photographs. Around 11 p.m., Rena called out from her workstation. "Detective, you should see this." On Emily's latest security camera feed, the live one, movement flickered in the shadows. The patrol car outside was still there, its headlights off, but from the other side of the street, someone was watching. A hooded figure stood near, the tree line, phone raised, filming the building. Then, as if realizing the camera saw him, he turned directly toward it. His face, faintly illuminated by streetlight, twisted into a blank stare before disappearing into the dark. Within minutes, officers combed the area. Nothing. No footprints, no movement, no vehicle nearby. Lane returned to Emily's apartment. She sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, eyes hollow from fear. "Why me?" she whispered. "I don't even know him." The detective hesitated. "People like him don't want to know you," he said quietly. They want control. When she looked up at him, tears welled in her eyes. Not from sadness, but realization. He knows where I live, where I work. He knows everything. And she was right. Because hours later, as Lane reviewed a new batch of evidence, another message hit Emily's phone. This time, from her own number. You shouldn't have shown the video. The text included an address, one she didn't recognize, but Lane did. It was the cafe, the same one where this all began. He looked at her and said, "We're going back to the Silver Cup." But what they found waiting there, behind the locked kitchen door, would change the direction of the investigation forever. The Silver Cup Secret. The cafe stood silent in the rain, its neon sign flickering faintly above the dark windows like a dying heartbeat. It was 1:12 a.m. when Detective Marcus Lane and Emily pulled up. The street was empty except for the hum of the streetlights and the rhythmic drip of rain hitting the curb. The Silver Cup looked exactly as it did that first night. Tables stacked, blinds drawn, the smell of damp coffee grounds still lingering. But now, it felt different. Hollow. Watching. Lane used his flashlight to illuminate the interior through the glass door. "Stay close," he whispered, pushing it open. Inside, the cafe was unnervingly neat. Cups aligned, counter wiped clean, everything in perfect order. Too perfect. The kitchen door at the back, however, had a new padlock, one that hadn't been there before. "Who locks the inside of a cafe kitchen?" Lane murmured. Emily shivered. "That's where he wanted me to go," the text said, "behind the kitchen door." Lane pried the lock open carefully. The door creaked as it swung, releasing a faint smell of dust and metal. Inside was a small storage area, but what caught his flashlight beam wasn't the shelves. It was the wall. Pinned across it were photographs, dozens of them, all of Emily. Her walking to work, her standing at the bus stop, her eating lunch at the park. Some were from months earlier, and in the corner, taped separately, were photos of two other women. Names were written underneath in neat handwriting. Samantha Doyle, Megan Klein. Emily stared in disbelief. "Who are they?" Lane didn't answer immediately. He pulled out his phone and searched the names in the police database. Both women had filed stalking reports over the past 3 years. Both had vanished without explanation. Neither case had ever been solved. That was when Emily noticed something else. A small black flash drive taped behind one of the photos. Lane pocketed it carefully. "Let's get this analyzed," he said. Back at the precinct, the evidence team connected the flash drive to a secured workstation. The folder inside contained video files labeled by date. Most were harmless. Cafe surveillance footage, street views, until one video stood out. REC 12.14 CAM2. It opened to a grainy image of the Silver Cup interior from 2 years earlier. The camera panned across the counter, then stopped at a woman sitting alone, smiling towards someone off-screen. She looked like Samantha Doyle. The timestamp blinked. 12:02 a.m. Then the camera turned toward the same back door, and standing there, in shadow, was Ethan Reese, unmistakable even in poor resolution. He looked directly into the lens, lifted his hand and waved. Emily's voice trembled. He filmed them. Rena, the tech analyst, ran the drive for metadata. The file's origin traced back to a private cloud account under an alias, J. Harlow. When they cross-checked it, it led to an abandoned warehouse 15 miles outside Portland, registered to a now-defunct security company. By sunrise, officers surrounded the property. The warehouse looked lifeless, its walls covered in ivy, windows boarded shut. Lane led the entry team through the side door, the smell of damp wood filling the air. Inside, the floor was littered with cables, old computer monitors, and stacks of labeled boxes. Each one bore a name: Emily Parker, Samantha Doyle, Megan Klein, and others. Every box contained personal items, printed photos, receipts, even copies of apartment keys. He'd been watching all of them, collecting details, building a pattern of their lives. At the center of the room stood a folding table. On it, a single sheet of paper. The perfect connection takes time. And next to it, a phone, still recording. Lane's team traced the phone's signal to a secondary device nearby. When they found it, they froze. It was a live stream. Someone was watching them. Within minutes, the IP address pinged. From inside Portland city limits, the connection came from a public Wi-Fi signal near Emily's apartment. Lane's blood ran cold. "He's not hiding," he said. "He's going back." Police rushed to her building. Rain poured harder now, thunder echoing through the streets. They arrived to find the door of her apartment slightly open. Lane raised his weapon, heart pounding, and pushed it wide. The lights were off, except for the faint glow from her laptop screen. On it, a message typed in real time appeared. "You found my room, but not me." And then, the cursor blinked twice, before disappearing. Emily stood behind Lane, staring at the message, her voice barely a whisper. "He's still out there." Lane closed the laptop. Not for long. Outside, the rain kept falling, washing the streets clean. But in the reflection of a passing car window, just for a second, a figure in a black coat appeared, watching from across the street. This time, he smiled. "If you thought this case was over, think again. Because the moment you start to feel safe, that's when they're already watching." If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because next week, we're diving into a case even darker than this one. Stay alert, stay curious, and remember, sometimes a friendly chat can turn into a nightmare.